Hi, 5th grade. Welcome to your Phases and Eclipses lecture. It's your last one of the year. Oh my goodness. You're probably way more excited about that than me. Anyway, it's chapter 12, pages 144 to 145. Go ahead and pull up the slides and let's get started. So, on slide 2, we're first going to talk about the moon because that's what this is all about. So the moon rotates on its own axis and it revolves around the Earth. Remember, an axis is kind of like a pole that imaginarily passes through the planet or celestial body, in this case the moon, and it has a slight little tilt, and it goes around the Earth, and it goes around in a counterclockwise manner, so it's opposite of how a clock goes. So imagine an analog clock, and it's going to go towards the 9 first. So we see, because of this rotation and of the moon and how it moves around the Earth itself, we are able to see parts of the moon's surface, and the shapes that we see are called the phases of the moon. These phases are all due to the positions of the Earth, the Sun, and the moons themselves, and how they all rotate and move within each other's orbits and all that, and how we move around the Sun. What we see, so if you look out at the moon tonight, you're only going to see a part of the moon. That's because it's the part of the moon that is actually getting sunlight. So we call it the sunlit side, and that is the phase of the moon. So if you move into slide 3, we're going to talk about what the phases are. There are 8 main phases: the new moon, the first quarter, the full moon, the third quarter, and then there are 2 crescent moons and 2 gibbous moons in this whole cycle. So there are 8 moons in the phase cycle of the moon. And you can see that I put a little red box around new, first quarter, full, and third quarter. In this picture, the moon is traveling in a counterclockwise motion. So the news are on the right, then we go to first quarter, then we go to the full and the third quarter. The new moon, you can see there it's completely, well, not completely, it's almost completely blacked out. It's because it can't be seen because it's directly between the Earth and the Sun, so there's no light hitting it. Then the first quarter, you see the right-hand half of the moon, and then the full moon is completely lit up, and lastly the third quarter is the left-hand half of the moon. And the word crescent means that less than half of the moon is visible. And a gibbous moon is more than half of the moon is visible, but not all of it. We'll get to more of that in a second. So if you look at the pictures, you'll see something there. It's called waxing crescent. We'll get into waxing and waning. A waxing crescent, there's less than half the moon visible. It kind of looks like a little smiley face. And over on the gibbous, the waning gibbous, you'll see that it is more than half of the moon is visible, but not all of it. So if you look at slide 4, this is where we talk about waxing and waning. So as I said, the moon does travel in a counterclockwise motion, and after a new moon, the moon appears to grow, or you can see more and more of it. So this is called waxing. So a new moon waxes until it becomes full. And then after the full moon, it appears to shrink, or you see less and less of it, and so it wanes until it becomes new. So you start at a new moon, it waxes until you hit full, and then from a full moon it wanes until you hit new. It's just a big old cycle. So we'll move on to slide 5, a lunar eclipse. You've heard of eclipses before, and that's when something is completely cast into shadow. You can't see it. So a lunar eclipse is when the moon is blocked out. So the Earth passes directly between the Sun and the moon, and the Earth's shadow blocks light from getting to the moon. And it's completely dark. It's usually a new moon. So a solar eclipse is the opposite, where the moon passes directly between the Sun and the Earth, and this moon shadow appears to block out the Sun's light from a portion of the Earth. And that was your final lecture of the year. Go ahead and just for homework, read those pages 144 to 145 and have a good day.